So we talk a lot about air pollution on Tesla Time News and how it affects not just climate crisis, but also human health. So here's a study for you that shows a clear cause and effect. Let's go back to the summer of 1996. The Summer Olympics, the city of Atlanta, they implemented a 17-day alternative transportation strategy to lower air pollution, right? And to get people off the roads, involving 24-hour transportation, additional bus service, telecommuting options, and closure of downtown Atlanta to private automobile traffic. And it was effective. Peak morning traffic dropped by 23%, and peak daily ozone dropped by 28%. So in the next 4 weeks, there was a reduction in children seeking medical care for asthma by 42% based on Medicaid claims and 44% based on Health Maintenance Organization data. There was an 11% decrease in pediatric emergency department visits and a 19% decrease in hospitalizations for asthma. You lowered pollution for 17 days, and then 4 weeks later, you get a massive health benefit.
But let's just talk about this for a second. This was back in 1996. There were no electric cars to speak of. So they weren't replacing everything with like clean transportation or anything like that. They were just saying, so instead of everyone getting in their own individual car and driving to work that day, you're going to need to take buses or carpool.
Right.
Very low-tech solutions. They weren't like replacing engines and stuff. They weren't putting special filters on anything. It was just, that was it. And they were able to reduce asthma-related hospitalizations by that much.
Yes. We'll put the link down below to the study. But I mean, what this shows is something we talk about all the time on our program, which is that we aren't counting the health effects of burning fossil fuels. Right. We just negate all that. We just talk about the cost at the pump, when in fact it has a cost on our health and the environment. But this is a clear case here where we have data that shows it had an effect on human health, and we're just putting a blind eye to that.
Right. And this is such a small example. It's not like we shut down all of the coal plants for a year and we stopped burning all fossil fuels in a whole continent. This was just one city for this one specific event, did this one thing, and it was just to reduce traffic. It was hardly even to reduce pollution, and yet it did reduce pollution. Imagine if we retool to look at the future in this way. Or what if we use this solution instead?
Oh, what is this?
So this is called Pollution Solution.
I like the name.
It is a UK startup. The concept is to suck polluted air from the middle of roadways and mostly around intersections through underground pipes to filter stations on the side of the road, cleaning the air. So the idea is, you know, you've got pipes and a big fan and a filter, and you're sucking the air right from where the tailpipes are of the cars in the middle of and you do this in the cities. You're not doing this everywhere, right? Okay. Just in the cities, just on the intersections where the cars are idling for a very long time. And that means that there's a high concentration of pollutants there. So you're just sucking it out and, you know, refreshing it.
It seems like so much work.
Yeah, it does. It does, but it is a huge problem. Air pollution kills 4.6 million people a year. 4.6 million people a year. But I think that this solution, which seems to be a good solution, highlights how crazy the system that we have is.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Anman, he's the CEO of Cruise Automation. He said, imagine if someone invented a new transportation system and said, I've designed a new way of getting around. It's powered by fossil fuels that will pollute our air. It will congest our cities to the point of inciting rage in our users. Its human operators will be fallible, killing about 40,000 Americans and more than 1 million people around the world every year. Most of the time, the equipment will sit unused, occupying prime real estate and driving up housing costs. If you're young, old, or living with a disability, then you can't use it. And for those who can, the privilege will cost $9,000 a year and suck up 2 years of your life. Sound good?
No, it sounds crazy. When you put it that way, it sounds crazy. And this solution to pollution, let's face it, is pretty crazy. It's pretty out there to be like, well, you know what we need to do to solve this problem is we need to put pipes under the road to suck up the problem from the tailpipes of the cars that we drive.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like a solution to me because I first would think, like, why can't we put filters on the cars themselves? Right? And so that they're not emitting anything. I mean, that would seem the smarter solution to put the filter there at the source. And secondly, it sounds really incredibly expensive to embed all these pipes in the roads. To me, I would think, like, why can't you put fans and filters by the side of the roads.
To talk a little bit more about this specific solution, the idea would be that you're just focusing on the parts of the world that need it the most, which are intersections in cities where there's a lot of traffic.
Okay.
And that means that there's a high concentration of pollutants, which means that people with asthma, well, it's going to give people asthma, especially children, in that area. So to fix that, you can just put this into a couple intersections, and maybe that would solve the problem. But this isn't the root of the problem, is it? This is just a Band-Aid on what is essentially a bullet wound, and it's not fixing it.
And this just highlights the insanity of where we're at right now. And in fact, it shows that a simpler solution to this whole thing would be for us to drive electric cars, all of us.
Because if we were to factor in the health effects of the pollution that we create by driving our gas-burning cars, you would pretty quickly come to the realization that to fix that problem would be pretty expensive to use a system like this.
Thanks for watching this clip. You can watch the whole episode by clicking this card or by clicking the link in the video description down below. Now you know.